In today's video, I'm going to talk about the Glaive Tempest Mythic Plus build and whether or not you should be playing this in Tyrannical keys for Mythic Plus as a Havoc Demon Hunter. So first things first, what is the Glaive Tempest build? Well, the Glaive Tempest build is this that you see before you. It is an AoE kind of M plus focused build that excels at lower target cleave as well as single target damage. Now, the class side of the tree is just unchanged, whatever, nothing too fancy there. But the spec side, you'll notice this is very similar to our raid build. We pick up Glaive Tempest instead of Momentum, and we don't have Restless Hunter or Isolated Prey. Likewise, we just have an extra point, so we throw it in Improved Spell Rush. Now, why would this build be good at all? Well, in the past, this build was really good in like single target or prio damage, and you had decent enough priority cleave because of Glaive Tempest. However, it was never really that good in like AoE, but it did perform well on bosses, like way better than the other two builds. Now, the reason why this build might actually be better right now, a few reasons. One, they just kind of buffed like Chaos Strike and First Blood and stuff like that. So you have a lot more of that with this build. So the single target difference that it had before, way higher, much better than it was. So that's a really good bonus. But the big thing is that they actually buffed Inner Demon by like 30%, causing Inner Demon to actually be one of those abilities that actually does a ton of damage in AoE. And it's one of those things that the left-right build that doesn't actually really take advantage of. And we also have like a little bit of a bonus with Blind Fury. Our I-beams do a lot more damage now because of our tier set, so a bit of an increase there. But overall, the main bonuses of this build are the really strong, consistent cleave damage because of Glaive Tempest, because of Inner Demon, and then also just the really powerful single target boss damage, prio damage because of Shattered Destiny, Cycle of Hatred, Essence Break, and all that stuff. So this build has a lot of damage. You have like an I-beam for every pack, you have Glaive Tempest for every pack. So you're going to actually end up doing a ton of damage between pack to pack. Now, obviously, you don't have that large uncapped AoE damage or that burst damage that the other two builds, Spread Eagle and Left Right, bring. But this build is very powerful and is probably one of those builds that you want to be thinking about for Tyrannical. Now, why am I talking about this, right? Like in a Mythic Plus dungeon, most of the things in that dungeon are still going to be pack-based, right? Like you're still going to go, yes, there are bosses, but there's still a lot of packs, still a lot of pack pulls. But the burst you get with meta, getting 3 Inner Demons, the burst you get with Glaive Tempest, the burst you get with your Death Sweep, with your I-beams, does put this really far ahead. Now, Atreyan, you guys, if you're around the channel often, you've heard of Atreyan before. He is the guy, one of the guys at the Havoc Demon Hunter Discord. He did the sim sheets, which is where we'll be going to in a second. What he's done is he's gone and he's run Tyrannical dungeons using the 4 different builds. Frag build was thrown in there for, just completeness sake. He's gone, he's run all the dungeons on like a Tyrannical setting using what's called a route sim. And a route sim is the most accurate way for you to basically sim a dungeon. Basically, it takes a route from MDT, Mythic Dungeon Tools, something that would look like this, for example, and he pastes that into the RaidBot software, and then the system goes and runs a simulation based on the route that you've given them. So using those things, he's actually ran all of the different builds against each other. And it turns out that the Glaive Tempest build might be much better on Tyrannical than we're giving it credit for. So let's hop over to the sim sheet now. I'll link it in the description as well. And we're gonna go over there now and talk about the sims he's done. So here we are on the simulation sheet. Now this has been updated since the last time I've covered this covered this sheet topic, and I'll probably come back again because the fortified section here is a work in progress. Again, shout out to Atreyan, last updated June 3rd, yada, yada, yada. But if we scroll down, he has added a new section. So this is the specific dungeon route sims. Now, as I mentioned in the first section, this goes off of the MDT route sim option using a weak aura instead of Dungeon Slice. Now, Dungeon Slice is good for like a quick thing. What it does is it sims a 2-target boss with Bloodlust, and does a 1, 2, 3 targets for like 12 to 30 seconds, and 4 to 6 for like 40 seconds or so, and it alternates that for the rest of the sim. That doesn't really encapsulate what a full dungeon is, though. So the best way to do it, of course, is with the dungeon route sim. Now, using this, he's taken the route sims from something called the Play Like the Pro section of Raider.io. So Play Like the Pro section, over here on Raider.io, I'll link this as well. Basically, what they do here on this section is they just take high key runs, so like 26s, 25s for each key, and basically just link the routes given, and just VODs as well for that. So if we see here on Brackenhide Hollow, for example, we have a plus 25 Brackenhide, that Equinox Monks, DXM, Carmesi, Narcom, and I don't know how to say that, Kha'Zix, I don't know, QA, don't know how to say that. But basically, this is what they did. They timed it by like 1.5 minutes. There are 8 deaths, and then here's the route. You can see everything here. Bloodlust timings, when they did Bloodlust, there's a note about it because of how just weird Brackenhide is. And then you can also see the route in action with the VOD. And they have this for everything. They have Freehold, they have everything here. They have Bloodlust timings, when to do this, when to do that. They have skips, they have everything here. So what Atrein did is he took that and he took basically the sim for each Tyrannical route that was there and just simmed it against each one. Now I will say this is going to be different based on your routes and stuff, but there shouldn't be too big of a difference coming in here between like what route you do and the route the pros do. It's not going to be too big of a deal. There's some skips that some bigger pulls as well that probably you won't do. But I will say that the smaller your pulls are, the more Shadow Tempest wins out as well, right? So if you're doing a bigger pull, then the other AoE builds will tend to do better there. And we see here, for each dungeon, across the board, for Tyrannical, Shadow Tempest has won. Now, we'll go into each individual sim in a second. I do want to come back on the fortified section once that is done. So there will be works in progress there once we have, fortified routes from as a baseline to sim off of. But if we go into each individual sim here, we can see a good little story start to come up. So we'll go down in order here. So Vortex Pinnacle is the first one. And we can see here that Shadow Tempest wins by a few thousand DPS. Now, this one isn't too big of a deal. There's one that's smaller. I think that Vortex Pinnacle is one of the less big difference ones. I would say Shadow Tempest is very good here, especially because the first and second bosses are pretty hell to use momentum with. And you don't have to for Shadow Tempest. But the pull sizes here are not very big. There are a lot of bosses that are difficult. So on a Tyrannical boss fight, this is definitely one of those ones where I do think Shadow Tempest is going to be good. Underrot, massive advantage for Shadow Tempest here again. This one's a little interesting. I think the large pulls kind of just line up well for meta, which does do well here. Now, Glaive does really well as well. But Shadow Tempest is just really far ahead here. It does really good uptime as well on the last boss, since you're just kind of hitting the whole time. Really high uptime of the crit buff. Just really good boss damage for the bosses as well. Something like Kragmaw, a lot of damage to that guy. So again, Underrot, really good Shadow Tempest dungeon. Uldaman, really good Shadow Tempest dungeon. Now Glaive again, not too far behind, but there's like 5 bosses in here. One of them is like 3 targets. So this is one of those fights where it's going to be a pretty good option to bring with you that Shadow Tempest build. Theris, not the biggest difference here again. You can definitely play Glaive. But Shadow Tempest, again, winning out here. Difficult bosses in this dungeon. Theris, really high here. Now, this dungeon is just, there's not a lot of large pulls in Neltharian's Lair. So it makes sense that Shadow Tempest wins out by almost like 8,000 here. Again, boss fight's really difficult here in this dungeon. Lots of cleave as well. First boss has the kind of skitterlings, whatever. Third boss has the Wormling Devout guys that you can cleave off of. The last boss has those big mountain guys. So again, Shadow Tempest does very well there. Moving down, last few here. Halls of Infusion, very large advantage for Shadow Tempest. I think these routes also just pull really well around meta. But this is just a very large gain. The boss fights here, again, are difficult. And Glaive Tempest just does very, very well in those pull counts. Freehold, and I think Brackenhide are the two that are, I think, the lowest. The difference between Shadow Tempest and Glaive. Again, pull differences could account for Glaive being better, but Shadow Tempest pulling ahead on these really difficult boss fights in Tyrannical. And finally, Brackenhide. This one is the least important, especially because the first boss, there's lots of cleave on it. But Shadow Tempest does give you lots of options for each totem. You can have pretty much an I-beam, I think, for almost every single one. You'll have damage for each one. You'll have a Glaive Tempest. Now, Glaive also just kind of has Glaives for each one, right? So that one's less of a big deal. This one's probably a comfort pick, whichever one you want to pick. It can be Glaive or Shadow Tempest. I think on the sim as well, it doesn't sim as many lashers. So if you have the lashers, Glaive might win out there as well. But again, just in all these different dungeons, we can see that Shadow Tempest is beating out the other builds on this route sim for Tyrannical. Now I'm gonna end this off by saying again, dungeons are just incredibly difficult to sim. This is the best way to do it that we've figured out so far. And it just shows that Shadow Tempest is a really good build for Tyrannical Week. So I'm going to leave that there. If you want to play this build, it's up to you. But the sims are showing that this is a very good build. Now, again, different routes are going to lead to different, excel points for you. So it might be in certain scenarios that Shadow Tempest is not the best for you. Left, right is going to win out. But you know, I just figured I'd go out there, throw out that this is doing really well on Tyrannical Sims, doing really well on Tyrannical Weeks, and might be the build you want to play for Tyrannical. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm back from my vacation now. It was a great time. I also hope that you guys have enjoyed the content I put out while I was gone. I answered all the comments I could. If you guys have any questions about this video, drop a comment down below. Hit the like button as well, and if you enjoyed it, hit the sub button. If you really enjoy, become a channel member, help support me, help make more videos. So with that, I want to thank everybody for watching. See you guys next week with a new video, and I hope you guys have a great weekend. So, peace. A big thank you to my channel members, 121, Payne, Zach Ward, It's Bulk, and Flapjack67. You guys are amazing and help me to put out this content that I do for all you guys. If you want to become a channel member, there's a link in the description. You get access to a ton of cool perks, exclusive emotes for comments and live chat whenever I stream on YouTube, as well as a ton of other things, and just get to help me make better content. Once again, thank you all so much. I really appreciate it, and thank you guys for watching. See you guys next time. Peace.